Obviously, we live in look, not gonna lie, it's quite an Anglo society, bit rock and roll driven, you know, particularly back in the day.
Definitely.
So first experience, and when I say that, I just mean like the first time really sort of popped for you. What was your first experience of hip hop when you were younger?
Yeah, I can't really put a finger on it, but when I was around 10 or 11, I was writing poetry with a mate of mine. But when I say poetry, it was nursery rhymes, but just mutated into like kid raps. You know, so I would change all the lyrics. We would change all the lyrics to these nursery rhymes just with like kid humor, you know, just fart jokes or whatever. Whatever else was that.
That's the best humor though.
As a kid, like that was funny to us, but I must have had an awareness of hip hop culture on some sort of a level, but that was late 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, right.
So we didn't really have the same access that exists today. But there were shows like MCTV on SBS, which would run on a Sunday afternoon, and it would be an hour of hip hop video clips from acts like Run DMC, Tribe Called Quest, Jungle Brothers, Paris even, NWA, Public Enemy, of course. Like there'd be a whole bunch of those clips that had come through that you'd never even really see on Rage because, yeah, you're right. Like it was so Anglo, and I mean, even going back then, like, yeah, there wasn't the same kind of access to this music. So you'd hold on to it wherever it came up.
100%, yeah.
And so the way that you really embraced hip-hop music was ordering it in at the local record store, which would be a process of like months because it had come in on import.
Oh, bro.
Yeah, so
you back
really
some memories.
Earned those that access to hip-hop music. So whether it be Pete Rock or whether it be, you know, a record like a Ghetto Boys record, like, it'd be time and effort that you'd be putting into getting that.
And it would be a bit of a, like, I don't want to say a fluke, but like it was a bit of a roll of the dice, right? Because you could potentially be fucking ordering garbage, right? Not that we knew necessarily, not that we were like much the wiser with regards to like differentiating what garbage and quality was, but you know, you'd be rolling the dice. I remember similarly, so you know, going into record stores and checking out the imports and just taking a punt, checking out the features, checking out production credits, you know, trying to like pin the pieces together and go like, okay, cool. It's pretty fair to say this may be a good record.
Yeah.
Get it home. There's the single, and then just fucking trash.
Yeah. So much filler on so many records, and you wouldn't know until after. And then because you'd spent so much time ordering that shit, and you paid a lot of money because you didn't, like, you know, where was the money coming from? Like, I didn't have money.
Yeah.
So then it became a matter of pride. You wouldn't give up on that record. You would not give up on that record. You would
100%.
listen to it, and if your friends didn't like it, or they were pointing out that, you know, that was ultimately not a great record, not a classic, you know, you'd be defensive about it, you know, and there was something good about that. Like, you would not have a skippable... There's no such thing as a skippable record.
No, you had to know the whole thing.
Yep.
Get the lyrics.
Yep.
Write them down.
Yep.
Rewind that. So, obviously, you know, Heard gets picked up Triple J, which... What year is this?
2001.
01.
Yeah.
And that's sort of early... I don't want to say early Triple J... But Triple J was traditionally quite a rock.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it was really band orientated, right? So then, you know, to be, you know, the Herd obviously, well, then would be sort of like a band, like, or easier for them to digest a group, you know. You know, how was that? And like gaining that traction and that notoriety, and you know, how did that, you know, feel for you guys?
Well, I wasn't on that song, so I vicariously just like, yeah, that's my band, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
We're on the radio. But everyone in the band had never experienced anything like this before.
Yeah.
So we thought we were famous. We were like, holy shit, we've made it.
We're famous.
The fucking radio
See those guys? Yeah, it's my band.
We're killing it. I missed this whole thing, but there's a famous story that the guys in the herd talk about where they did the hottest 100 that year, right? The next year, right? So the scallops came out, and they're at the countdown, and it's like 100 to 50, like, holy shit, we're in the top 50, 50 to 40. Fuck, we're getting higher. 40, 30, holy shit, this is crazy. 30, 20, you know, like, this is
bullshit.
Right what the hell? Have we got the number one song? And then it wasn't us, so it didn't. No, but all the guys are sitting there hanging out together just thinking that this is the shit. Like, we've made it, this is it. And, you know, they didn't have any idea about how these things worked. And there's no industry backing. There's nothing beyond a little vibe and a community that we built around, you know, independent music and kind of not giving a fuck about that mainstream kind of current that a lot of, you know, more what kind of seems like official music came through. So,
and I suppose, like, you know, because you're sitting there, right, part of Elephant Tracks, like, this is like, it's got the fucking Elephant Tracks like logo on it. You'd be like, fuck yeah, Elephant Tracks represent. And was that like sort of solidifying a little bit, like, yeah, cool, we're on a bit of a right track of, because I could only imagine, right, like the back end of Elephant Tracks was like a couple of sheets of paper in the corner of someone's head. I don't know, like how established was it, you know, at that stage, you know?
Lounge room, buying CDs, like actual plastic jewel cases or whatever, and then you know, we'd fill them all ourselves, printing up the covers, cutting them out, putting them into the CD, you know, physically taking that CD to the record store, getting a little invoice notepad and selling those CDs on consignment. You know, it was all it was cottage industry back then, but it was all low key. And but what things like the herd selling a few records did was we did an official press of the CD. That money went back into Elephant Tracks. No one took a cent. We weren't paying each other royalties. It was going to the next artist, and the next artists were people like Hermitude. There was we licensed a record from an artist who'd spent a bit of time in Australia, but she'd formed a duo called Apsai. They were New York based. Then, you know, and so on it went. So we started putting more records out, made more money, investing in new artists, and off we went.
Fuck yeah, man. Inspiration as well then, you know, for you to, you know, continue. It shows a lot of discipline as well for you guys to put straight back into the craft.
Yeah, I mean, the mindset then wasn't being big. I mean, we wanted it to grow. We wanted it to turn into an official thing. No one was, I mean, we were naive, but we had like a determination about us. Like, it was like, we don't want to go down the label route. We don't want to be official. We don't want to know that shit. Like, fuck that. We want to do it independent. That was the mindset. And so in order to do that, like, we weren't funded by anyone. We still aren't. We're still not a subsidiary of anyone. We don't have any capital that's given to us from anyone. It's literally the income that we get from selling CDs or, well, I see, showing my age. I mean, we're talking about 2000s here. But, like...
I'll still sell a fucking CD. Fuck it. Fuck is all. I'll still sell a CD. Buy my CD. Print it myself in my lounge room. I wanted to talk about as well the activism, you know, like for yourself. You know, you're obviously socially conscious. You use, you know, your voice and, you know, for a sort of higher platform, but it's interesting to hear that it was actually so early on in your career, you know. What inspires, like, what's the inspiration for you to use your voice? Is it something when you were young? Like, what inspires you to use your voice for a higher purpose, you know, artistically and creatively?
I don't know. I don't really think. I mean,
I know it's a bit
try
of a
and
funny
listen.
question. Yeah.
Yeah. I try and listen. I think that there's an arrogance with a lot of activism, and there's an arrogance, especially with performative activism. And I mean, there's no doubt if you look through anyone's track record, there's going to be some blurry areas, you know. And I definitely would have done performative activism throughout my life. Yeah. And so it's about trying to, like, work out, well, if you can piss off that ego side of that process,
Yep.
then it's fine. You can actually have a more of a impactful role.
Yep.
So it's not really about, like, I think there's always something in me that gravitates to trying to address some of this shit. And yeah, when I was younger, it was just this arrogance of like, oh, I can change things or whatever. My voice is this or whatever. Actually, as I've gotten older, I just listen to people. They're like, use your influence, use your platform, and actually support things and work out the best way to support them. And that's constantly changing.
Yeah.
1 year, the version of activism is this thing. But actually, the next year, it's changed. Like, no, you can't do that anymore because that's like...
Things have changed.
That's insincere. Or that's kind of like white savior complex or something like that.
Yeah.
Or that's talking over someone.
The narrative sort of changes.
Yeah. You're not talking for me.
Yeah.
You just hand the mic over. I'll talk for myself. Like those sorts of things, I've just had to kind of listen to people. And now when I use my social media, I don't know if I do it. I just do it as it comes naturally.
Yeah.
But I definitely listen to people, and people who sit there and tell their story, and I listen to those stories and go, it doesn't, we're complex. Humans are complex. So, we all have an imbalance of power in our lives. And, I know that I've got a following and some people who listen, most people who won't. So if I'm speaking, I want to be able to kind of support the things I care about.
Yep.
So it's good. Like it's the same thing with that wanting to learn and be a better version of yourself. Is that sometimes like you get called out and people doubt you. And you go, how do you doubt me? Like, I've got a track record.
I've got the right intention.
Yeah, I've got the right intention.
I say my intention is right.
And then slowly you fucking, take the blindfold off.
Yep.
And you realize like that there is decades and centuries of
before you
destruction and genocide and distrust. And that distrust manifests in every single issue that you come up against. So whether it be patriarchy, whether it be racism, whether it be like anti-transgenderism, like all of these things that are starting to become more discussed, and therefore the division and the debates and the arguing online gets louder.
Yep.
And people go, oh, fuck, why is it gum like this? Actually, what it is like we're dealing with centuries of shit.
Yeah.
And now everyone's talking because we've got an internet culture where those discussions are being had, and you either listen to people's stories and take them on board and listen, not just sort of wait for your moment so that you can talk over them. And that's the sort of role I've started to understand is mine. Is like, is to kind of get a sense of why someone, if I say something and they're like, call me out, fuck that guy, I don't believe him. I can't just go back at that person and be like, well, fuck you too. I have to sit there and go, oh, right, okay, so no matter what I say, you already have experienced life as being exploited and being on the receiving end, or maybe the whole family structure that you're within, or the school structure, your friendship circles, all of your homies, you're experiencing incarceration. Like, that's just normal. That's not what's normal to me. So who the fuck am I to come in and start talking about this shit, And that's something that I'm just getting it a little bit more now. And I'm trying to act on it.
5 solo albums, man, that's something to be super proud of. Last album, though, was obviously 2016.
Yeah.
It's a little bit ago now,
I get further apart, man.
Yeah.
The next one will be 2026, and after that.
Yeah. That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But, where are you at with an artist now? You sort of said it before, like you're becoming less and less at the forefront, really more sort of sitting back. But, obviously you're still an artist, you're still a creative, so what's the creative process like for you these days? Are you creating as much? you know, is there plans to is there any plan to create the future, or is it going to be organic? Like, what's the deal there?
Yeah. I'm going hard. I'm fucking going hard.
What the fuck were you talking about?
Yeah,
really?
I'm working every other week on this stuff. It makes sense to me. It helps me balance out first of all, being a participant in the writing process or the touring process continuously informs me and helps me be a bit more grounded. Yeah, I found like there was a while there, because I managed Hermitude and Horror Show, and there was a time there where they were both doing huge tours.
Yeah.
And I was sitting side of stage watching them, just being like, looking at the crowd, looking at them, looking at the crowd, looking at them, and just being like, how the fuck do they do this? Like, I was actually... I mean, I spent my whole life on stages, right? But I'm watching it going, I don't understand this.
Different game, right?
Yeah.
Like, yo.
And then I went back on the road with that last record, and you remember all of the whole experience. You remember the sitting around in a venue, bored, you're in a spot where there's no Wi-Fi or whatever. You can't go anywhere, but you just got to stay there. There's like alcohol around. You know, even if you come into it with a healthy mindset, the tour wears you down.
Yep.
You become increasingly tired. And I'm doing a job, so I'll be working 5 days a week, then I'd be going on tour, or I'd go 4 days a week, then tour 4 days. And after 6 weeks of touring, that's 42 days of every day working. Fuck. And that kind of catches up with you. And you do, and then you remember, like, that's why people drink on tour.
Yeah.
Like, they're tired and they're short and they're eating bad food because there's only a half an hour spot, and oh shit, I better not eat now because I've got the gig.
Yeah.
So I'll eat at 1 a.m.
Yeah,
all these different life decisions that happen with touring. Now, that was good for me because I got to remember that when I was making decisions for the bands. I was like, oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, I really feel that viscerally. I remember what it was like in Perth, you know, getting off that flight, driving down to Margaret River, and you're losing the time, and then you got 2 hours, and you do the calculations, you realize you're on stage by your set time is 2 a.m. But this is about how you route a tour.
Yeah.
So that experience of being involved actually is really good for me in a management and in a label capacity.
Yep.
And I you know, you remember what it feels like on release day. Like, oh, no one's talking about it. Fuck everyone. You know? And that helps.
Fuck these guys.
And that helps me as a label person.
Why isn't it me?
Remembering to be an arm's length, so I'm not like riding the roller coaster with the artist, but also being empathetic.
Yeah.
Like, there's something hard to put a finger on. Like when something as big as like you're sharing your music with the world, you're vulnerable, you know?
Yeah, man.
And that's easy for an industry person to just be sitting, I'm doing my job, I'm getting paid, I'm about to knock off. It's Friday, whatever. Yep. It's really good for me to continuously be real close to that experience so that I can't solve it.
Yeah.
And actually part of it is knowing you can't solve it. Like,
yeah, 100%.
That vulnerability of the day, you just have to be kind of, that's why people, you know, get around your artists the artists you like, right?
Yeah.
When they put something out, because it's a weird day and it's a weird time.
Yeah, man.
Anyway, so that.
And it is, but you're right. And you've said it throughout the whole interview, like tonight, right? It's just like, it's like so fucking special. And often, you know, at least from my perspective, a lot of the time creation comes from a sense of, I mean, at least for like artists that I probably know personally, sometimes there's degrees of trauma that are involved where they become good at an art or a craft because they need to put their head down and actually stay away from something else. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's a safety net, you know, it's a safety blanket. Yeah. So to entrust your safety blanket and your vulnerability, as you say, like that's a very sore point for a lot of people where they're putting it out. And then, and ultimately for that not to be appreciated is a fucking kick in the guts.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Sometimes you don't have to have bulk streams on that day one, but having like people get around you a bit can make up for whatever is happening in a more commercial sense.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm getting back to the original question. I'm going hard, and I worked a lot last year, then went off the rails something hard, and it was another period of growth. You know, where there's no easy answers. The producer that I was working with was overloaded and just dropped off the project. And he was pretty pivotal, so I really went through a dark period and eventually did the thing that artists should do and managers should do and labels should do to artists that are going through difficult periods is not keep them on the deadline. Actually, like the best thing you can do sometimes is go, no. What you need to do is take a month off.
Yeah.
Like 2 months off. Yes, the schedule's fucked. Yes, the strategies, you got to keep on putting music out to feed the algorithm. And yes, you got to tick all these boxes in an industry sense. But if you're not healthy, you're not coming to that creative process from a place that is going to bring the best art out of you.
Straight up.
And sometimes you just need that headspace.
Yep.
And I've learned to do that. And last year I did that too late for myself. But once I did it, it started freeing things up for me. And so I've come in this year and I'm just like running at it again.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have like 10, 15 songs that are pretty much done. And now it's just about starting to reimagine what they are in the context of what they were going to be last year. Like now that the project sort of changed course.
Path, yeah.
And so now I'm trying to get back to a mentality of just actually just working, and because the enjoyment of writing the songs actually is still a massive thrill. Like I still love the idea of writing that one song. And there's so many of the melodies you come up with, the hooks or the flows or whatever, you're just like, yes, this is the shit, this is the shit. You sit with it for a while, it's like, that's not the shit, that's not the shit.
Yeah.
But
come back.
That moment where it could be the shit, I'm addicted to that.
Yeah.
Like that is...